sentence for the man accused of kidnapping and torturing women. Iver Phallen pleaded guilty to lesser charges to avoid a trial and avoid more prison time. His accusers stood up in court this morning describing what Phallen did to them. Then the judge sentenced him to 14 years in prison, which is the deal he made with prosecutors. News 4's Katie Alexander was in the courtroom as this happened. She joins us live now in Lockport.
Well, Teresa, as the judge was handing down that sentence in court today, she said she did not think 14 years was enough for what Phallen did. She said she only agreed to that plea agreement because the victims did, and out of respect for them and their wish to avoid going to trial, that's what she had to let happen. Those victims stood in court today and addressed the judge and Phallen, describing in detail what he did to them. Two of those victims did stand up today. He's accused of assaulting 3 women. The ones who stood up said that Phallen hung them, beat them, whipped them, handcuffed them, and many more graphic, terrible things. One of the victims said she was not able to move her arm for a month after Phallen assaulted her. Phallen was originally charged with more than 120 counts of kidnapping, strangulation, and sexual assault, but he pleaded guilty in December to 3 counts of felony assault. His victims who spoke in court today say they accepted the plea deal again because they did not want to relive that trauma at trial. Phalen's plea, though, came just weeks after he attempted to kill himself in jail. Something his lawyer said was an expression of his genuine remorse. That was echoed by Phalen's spiritual advisor, who did not want us to show his face on camera. But the victim said there is no remorse and no closure after what Phallen did to them.
Mr. Phallen is a dangerous man. He subjected these women to a day long of torture.
I am deeply, deeply sorry. And I pray each day for the healing of my victims.
He wants to serve his time for the sake of the victims. He wants to serve his time for them now.
As part of the plea agreement, Phallen will have to serve the prison terms for each count of assault consecutively, adding up to 14 years behind bars. But he will not have to register as a sex offender, something Judge Sarah Sheldon said was interesting. As she sentenced Phallen here this morning, she said to the court, quote, "You can't really understand how utterly horrific this case is to the core." Reporting live, Katie Alexander, News 4.
All right, Katie, thank you. And you can find complete coverage of this story, including the history of this case, on WIVB.com.